In the high-stakes world of global semiconductor manufacturing, microchips are the new oil, and geopolitics is everything. A single sentence from a world leader can move billions of dollars across the ocean overnight. And in a recent interview with Al Jazeera, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim may have just handed the Philippines the greatest economic gift of the decade. When asked about his stance on Taiwan, Anwar did not dodge the question like most Southeast Asian leaders typically do. Instead, he looked directly at the camera and said,
They overwhelmingly do not want to be ruled by Beijing.
That's antecedent of history. If you accept Taiwan to be part of China,
Yes.
you can express your views for or against, but it is a part of China, and the Chinese have to decide. Why this hypocrisy and contradiction? I see Taiwan as part of China, period. We may disagree with there are some excesses. Yes, express your view. But it must be in that context. It is one China. It's accepted by all.
The blowback was instantaneous. Within 48 hours, Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a scathing condemnation, delivering a very thinly veiled threat to Malaysia's economy, side with Beijing's aggression, and say goodbye to Taiwanese tech investments. Suddenly, Taiwan's massive tech giants are hitting the brakes on Malaysia and looking directly across the water to a massive 4,000-acre mega-development in the Philippines. Today, we are breaking down the fallout of the Al Jazeera interview, the rise of the US-led Pax Silica initiative, and why the Philippines is rapidly replacing Malaysia as the safest place on Earth to build a microchip. To understand why so much money is suddenly moving, you have to understand exactly what was said and why it matters so much to Taipei. For decades, Malaysia has maintained a brilliant, delicate balancing act. They conduct heavy, lucrative trade with China while simultaneously hosting massive Western and Taiwanese tech companies in their industrial parks. It was the ultimate best of both worlds scenario, but during that Al Jazeera interview, Prime Minister Anwar threw that proven playbook out the window. Not only did he firmly state that Taiwan is a part of China, but he also made statements that appeared to rationalize the use of force. By drawing parallels to internal national unity, he implied that preventing a territory from breaking away justifies military action. Taiwan was absolutely furious. Taiwan's foreign ministry blasted Anwar, stating his remarks absurdly implied Taiwan is a mere separatist province and actively endangered regional peace and stability. But Taiwan did not just fire back with standard diplomatic complaints, they hit where it hurts the most, the wallet. The ministry explicitly warned that because national sovereignty and economic security are fundamentally linked, Anwar's unyielding support for China could negatively affect the confidence of Taiwanese businesses operating and investing in Malaysia. When your country relies heavily on Taiwan for semiconductor manufacturing and technology transfer, that is a threat you simply cannot ignore. And this is where the situation becomes much bigger than a simple diplomatic disagreement. Semiconductor companies do not make investment decisions based only on today's operating costs. They are planning for the next 10, 20, or even 30 years. A modern chip facility can require billions of dollars in equipment, specialized infrastructure, highly trained workers, and long-term agreements with suppliers and customers. Once that capital is committed, moving production is extremely expensive. That means political predictability has become a form of economic infrastructure. Investors want to know that their factories will remain protected regardless of how tensions between major powers evolve. They want reliable electricity, secure ports, stable telecommunications, access to skilled workers, and most importantly, confidence that their host government will maintain a consistent strategic direction. For Taiwan, this calculation is particularly sensitive. The island sits at the center of the world's advanced semiconductor ecosystem, but it also faces enormous geopolitical pressure from Beijing. Any additional uncertainty surrounding overseas production can therefore become a serious business risk. This does not necessarily mean Taiwanese companies will immediately abandon Malaysia. Penang has decades of accumulated experience, an established supplier network, and thousands of engineers already working inside the semiconductor ecosystem. Those advantages cannot simply be transferred overnight, but diversification can happen gradually. A company does not have to shut down an existing Malaysian factory to build a second facility in the Philippines. It can keep its established operations in Penang while directing its newest investments toward Clark, Subic, or other emerging Philippine industrial zones. Over time, the balance of future investment could shift without requiring an abrupt economic separation. And that may actually be the more realistic scenario. The Philippines does not need to completely replace Malaysia to win. It only needs to capture the next wave of investment. Why is this such a devastating blow for Malaysia? Right now, Malaysia, specifically the northern state of Penang, is widely considered the Silicon Valley of the East. The country's semiconductor industry is an absolute titan. It employs nearly 260,000 highly skilled workers and generates a staggering $95 billion in tech exports every single year. For years, as companies look to diversify away from China, a trend known as the China Plus One strategy, Malaysia was the primary beneficiary. Taiwanese chip designers, testers, and packaging firms built a massive footprint there, but the global supply chain has completely changed its priorities. It is no longer just about cheap labor or tax incentives, it is fundamentally about economic security and geopolitical alignment. If a geopolitical conflict breaks out, or if United States tech sanctions on China tighten even further, Taiwanese companies cannot afford to have their crown jewels sitting in a country whose leader publicly aligns with Beijing's aggressive claims over Taiwan. The liability is simply too high. Taiwan's leadership realizes they need a manufacturing partner that is geographically close, but completely insulated from Beijing's political influence. And that is exactly where the Philippines steps into the spotlight. As Taiwan aggressively re-evaluates its Malaysian strategy, they are actively shifting their gaze to the Philippines. In early 2026, the Philippines formally joined a powerful, United States-led international network called the Pax Silica Initiative. Pax Silica is a strategic economic security zone designed to build highly resilient, trusted supply chains for semiconductors, artificial intelligence ecosystems, and critical minerals, completely independent of Chinese control or influence. And the Philippines is not just participating on paper. The government's Bases Conversion and Development Authority is currently dedicating an absolutely massive 4,000-acre site in New Clark City, Tarlac, to serve as the country's first AI-native industrial acceleration hub. This ambitious project caught Taipei's attention immediately. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Keqiang recently announced a massive proposal. He suggested using this New Clark City hub as common ground to build deep, structural industrial cooperation with the Philippines. Taiwan wants to bring their unparalleled manufacturing expertise into this US-backed economic zone, proposing joint ventures not just in semiconductors and AI, but in drone manufacturing, shipbuilding, and vital undersea cables. The financial stakes are astronomical. Project leaders project that if the Pax Silica ecosystem in Clark is fully realized with Taiwanese backing, it could attract up to $70 billion in potential investments over the next decade. So, from a strategic standpoint, why is the Philippines a much better choice for Taiwan than Malaysia right now? It comes down to three massive, undeniable advantages. The Luzon Economic Corridor. The United States and Japan are already pouring billions of dollars into upgrading railways, clean energy grids, and deep water ports from Subic Bay down to Batangas. This creates the exact physical logistics backbone that Taiwan needs to export microchips globally without bottlenecks. Ironclad geopolitical alignment. Unlike Malaysia's Anwar Ibrahim, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has aggressively strengthened defense and economic ties with Washington and Tokyo. Taiwan knows with absolute certainty that the Philippine government is not going to suddenly go on global television and endorse China's drive to take over their island. The political trust is rock solid. Proximity and labor synergy. Taiwan and the Philippines are direct neighbors, separated only by a narrow strait. Furthermore, there are already roughly 170,000 Filipino workers residing in Taiwan, many working in the tech sector. The cultural ties and technical labor connections already exist. Now, they are simply moving the factories closer to the workers' home. Anwar Ibrahim's comments on Al Jazeera did not just make temporary news headlines, they actively accelerated the rewiring of the entire global economy. Malaysia's ongoing pivot toward Beijing might win them political favor in mainland China, but it is heavily costing them the trust of the world's most important technology investors. Meanwhile, by actively joining Pax Silica and firmly aligning with the West, the Philippines is stepping up to become the secure, reliable, and geographically perfect alternative for Taiwan's semiconductor empire. The tech world is splitting into two distinct camps, and the Philippines has clearly chosen its side. What do you think about this massive shift? Can New Clark City actually replace Penang as the Silicon Valley of the East? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.